Yep, that's me. Just a completely normal dude. Last Friday I covered the LinusTechTips situation on my stream, and while it's not a super complicated situation, I just figured that I would give you a recap in a more refined manner. So, here we go. So about 5 days ago, a channel called Gamers Nexus, which is basically a tech spec hardware specializing channel, uploaded a video called The Problem with LinusTechTips: Accuracy, Ethics, and Responsibility. In it, he systematically presents a number of criticisms that he has for LinusTechTips and his company. He points out that Linus's channel is among the most massive in the tech space, and that ever since they started doing hardware tests, the line between entertainment and actually factual information has begun to blur. He accuses LinusTechTips of rushing to finish reviews for products, not really caring about the legitimacy and accuracy of reviews that are put out, and basically being greedy, stingy, and not following best practices. His states that their quality control is like brutal. And I'm gonna be real, he backs it up pretty good. He makes a point of saying that this is strictly a business matter for him, and that since Linus's company has recently been valued at around $100 million, he feels it's important for the space that these things get addressed. His critiques include pointing out factual inaccuracies in a lot of what Linus's product statistics show, that there seems to be a crunch culture that is causing the employees at LinusTechTips to rush out videos, resulting in lower quality control. So this is wild. He cites a literal video uploaded like by Linus's team, where Linus's team is basically saying like, oh yeah, what's it like to work at LinusTechTips? Well, it's a lot of crunch, basically. It's a lot of rushing stuff out. So it's kind of, you know, clear that the employees at LinusTechTips, even before any of this went down, were aware that there was kind of a quality control problem.
Let's publish less videos.
I wish we could back off the amount and focus on quality for a bit.
More time for projects would be good.
Just allow us more time to work on a video.
I don't love that we have to release so many videos.
6 LinusTechTips, 1 Juan show, 3, holy moly, bro. Like, this is 25 plus videos per week. I understand they have a team of about 120 people, but a lot of that team is like, you know, not content production. This is a lot of content production. Anyway. He points to a number of situations where really dumb mistakes resulted in products being reviewed in a biased way.
This is not a smooth mouse, and that's really disappointing, especially on like a premium gaming mouse. That should be one of the primary focuses.
Ponage then contacted LMG to notify them that LMG had not removed the protective film from the feet of the mouse.
Bro, so they reviewed a mouse. Keep this in mind. They reviewed a mouse. And the entire marketing strategy for this mouse from the company who made it was them saying it is like buttery smooth movement. And then Linus, or his team, a subsidiary or whatever, they reviewed the mouse and they're like, bro, this mouse sucks, basically. Like, it's not as advertised. It turned out there was the sticker for the sensor was not even taken off. You could literally see it in the video, which is absolutely embarrassing. But it is clearly a mistake, and a correctable mistake, okay? And people make mistakes, whatever, right? You don't want to hate on them too hard. The thing is that this guy's going to get into, when these mistakes are pointed out to them, there isn't a good faith effort to rectify the damage and mistakes.
The bigger issue here is that our initial correction, which was posted, said, hey, no, it, you know, is high friction, and we did test it, and there were no films on the feet.
Such an egregious error unfairly undermine the integrity of the product and its chief marketing point.
They make note of the error, they accept it, and they cut out the part where they say that, you know, oh, the gliding is really shit, basically. But by cutting out just the parts where they say negative stuff, you know what I mean? The review is still flawed as hell. You know, because now all the opinion's gone, and what do people go to? Linus fucking Tech Tip Central for? They go for the opinion, right? Like, Linus, should I buy this? Right? So them, like, I guess cutting out the opinion parts of the thing when they already are on a rocky footing, it's like, yeah, that's just not good for the company either, you know?
They are choosing to leave the content live whose conclusions were at least partially based on massively erroneous work, because they don't want to hurt their video performance. But they're willing to throw Ponage under the bus one last time by providing feedback that the stickers should be more obvious. For an end
That's hilarious, bro. I like that. Guys who literally it's their job to review tech didn't look at the fucking sensor when they were having problems with it to see if the sticker was still on. It's like, bro, that's your fault. What the fuck's wrong with you? Bad product. Shoot you in the head, executed, leave you in the Mahan desert. Anyway, he also pretty specifically aims his disappointment at LinusTechTips, showing clips from his podcast where he would admit to knowing having made mistakes in reviews, but claimed that spending upwards of $500 isn't worth the effort to put out a more accurate video.
The company did not tell LMG that it would be 4090 compatible. They told LMG that they could try to use a 4090, but Billet Labs itself had not tested one as it didn't have a 4090 at the time. LMG decided to try it and continued with the video despite misrepresenting the product massively by using it on an incompatible device that it literally would not fit properly.
You mess up the instructions, and then you say that every thing that goes wrong is a reflection on the quality of the product, which is kind of weak.
Like, it's a cool product, but it's a bad product.
It looks great.
Yeah, it looks super cool.
Are you just saying it's bad just purely because of the price?
It's bad because it makes absolutely no sense and nobody should buy it.
I feel like that is a little bit too ballsy to say when you consciously use the wrong parts, but anyway.
Something like that and goes, lazy, out of touch, whatever else. No, I'm just really experienced at this.
Out of touch?
Crap.
Did you put it in backward?
Get a shot of that. Look at that.
Yeah, he's very experienced at this, so he wouldn't make such a dumb mistake. Yeah, but the point is you can be as experienced as you want, but if you don't put in the fucking work into learning or at least researching or, having the care while you're checking out these products, then what the fuck's your experience going to do, right? Technology evolves non-stop aggressively. He would know that as a tech guy, right? And so you need to keep up. You need to do the work, right? So just relying on like, oh, I know my shit because I've been doing this for 12 years. It's like, okay, what the fuck? That's not going to help you with new products.
Adam asked is if we could spend more time, put the 3090 Ti on it and get real results. And what I told him was no. Because, and guys, come on. Like, for real, okay? It's $800 US. I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if I can apologize for not spending another $100, $200, $300, $500 of various people's time.
Bro, what the hell? You think I got fucking 500 bones to blow? Which he definitely does. His company's worth $100 million fucking dollars. Yeah, and it was confirmed that that was just him being a dumbass and probably cheap and lazy and defensive. So. Yeah. The company that sent him the prototype for that product that he basically just bashed even though he used it wrong, then requested LinusTechTips to send the product back because it was their best prototype and basically their small business. And somehow through a confusion, that item ended up getting auctioned off.
Linus Media Group agreed at least twice to return the product. The first time they agreed to send it back was June 30th. At LTX, Linus Media Group put the one-of-a-kind water block up for auction at its Extra Life auction event without the permission of Billet Labs. Billet did not learn of this until around August 11th, at which point it was told the block is gone.
Kind of pointing to disorganization within the company.
Billet told us that it is now stalled, as it no longer has its best prototype available for continued development. It's also missing one of its GPUs. We voiced to Billet a concern of a potential competitor, many of whom were at LTX where it was auctioned, potentially getting a hold of the block to send it off to be cloned.
The guy goes on to basically say that, this is unfair to manufacturers, consumers, and yeah, this is like us just kind of giving you a smack in the face, do better type of thing, right?
And this is particularly important for anyone marketing the future of their business's success on the back of objectivity, fairness, data-driven reviews.
Now, 3 hours after Gamer Nexus's video got released, Linus immediately responded. It was very clear that it was a hasty response. There wasn't much reflection, which makes sense given the time frame. And responding that fast to criticism, especially criticism that's pretty undeniable, I would say, usually a bad idea. Basically, he's kind of being a bit of a brat. He's being a brat, but I guess he's being honest with his opinion. That's what you need to also, I guess, keep in mind. But yeah, when it comes to like pretty fucking tame, in my opinion, criticism like this, I get that for Linus, this might be like earth-shattering criticism because it's like, no, he's threatening the legitimacy and the reputation of my company or whatever. But at the end of the day, this isn't anything that's like horrendous. If anything, you should just look at this and be like, yeah, we can improve, and we probably should. But I think he kind of decided to take it personally. So the next day, Gamer Nexus uploaded another video responding directly to Linus's forum post. In it, this fella kind of takes the opportunity to really dig into Linus. Linus had claimed that Gamer Nexus should have gone to them privately before bringing this public. Brought up the fact that, yo, what the hell? You couldn't just be like a good guy and just tell me these criticisms privately. You had to air this out to the rest of the world, which again, our friend at Gamers Nexus effectively said, bro, I'm not your fucking friend, pal. Okay? All right? We had problems with you, and I publicly said them, motherfucker, so that you could be held accountable.
Linus willfully ignoring our valid criticisms of data accuracy and some of the ethical concerns, while then trying to manipulate the audience into viewing him as the victim, not just LMG, is bizarre. This is why we don't reach out every time. I want to be very clear. We don't have to reach out to corporations prior to reporting on.
I think that's kind of legit. Again, if you're friends with somebody, it would make more sense, you know, to like make that claim. But like, if this is just a fucking business associate or whatever, it's like, all right, it's a bit cutthroat, okay? But you know, if this was told privately, do you think that corrections would be made? I don't know, probably not as, you know, drastic.
When there's an objective, factual issue, we don't need to reach out. The risk is to the consumer. And these aren't unreleased products. They are public videos with a lot of views. And I am exceptionally disappointed in this response. I am baffled. As for the rest of the sort of meandering diatribe, it's just bizarre. I really am. I am genuinely just disappointed by this. Here's one such quote. I'm sorry I got the community's priorities mixed up on this one and that we didn't show the billet in the best light. Our intention wasn't to hurt anyone. We wanted no one to buy it because it's an egregious waste of money, no matter what temps it runs at.
He's a bit of a gamer, bro. You can tell this guy's off the cuff.
Will it was a mistake, a bad one, but a mistake, and they're taking care of it reality managed to have the same reach. This is a very, guys, I'm not going to mince words to protect my reputation amongst sort of the devout LTT supporters.
Yeah, he's basically going to say, this is fucking embarrassing. Just to save you the time there. He's just basically, you know, pulling a big dad move and being like, son, I'm not mad, I'm embarrassed. I mean, I'm disappointed, but also embarrassed. You're fucking embarrassing. Smack on the ass. Anyway, first of all, Billet Labs, they got a big wave of support, they mentioned. And so, the next day, a video was uploaded to the LinusTechTips YouTube channel, titled, What Do We Do Now? In it, it's made clear that the forum post by Linus was an error. They lead it by showing this new CEO who was made CEO about a month and a half ago. And bro, this guy is so not media trained, it's hilarious. But they like put in some like jokes. I appreciate the effort, but like you can tell that this guy is not like the guy, you know what I mean, for like putting in front of the camera. Like I don't know, yeah, you can just tell immediately.
I think Luke put it best at the roast a few years ago when he said,
"Why the f*** are you here?"
That's a two-part answer. I'm speaking today because of the recent community outcry demanding change. I'm here because I agree with the community. We do have a lot of work to do.
So the new CEO fucking slams his balls on the table and then transitions to Linus's wife and a bunch of other staff members, essentially promising to internalize the criticisms and bring better videos in the future. A lot of these people, especially Linus's wife, also kind of dig at Linus, which is funny.
That I've read the criticisms that we weren't willing to spend $500 to test a product, and as the one that manages the finance, I can tell you that couldn't be further from the truth. Linus made a clear and egregious judgment error regarding retesting.
Fuck you, Linus, you piece of shit! That's what I'm getting from this. Effectively, a lot of this got put on the shoulders of Linus. That's the whole kind of result or whatever, is Linus being a fucking idiot. He's like referred to as a wild spirit who's constantly causing trouble.
That was wrong, and I've told him so. He allowed his personal feelings on the matter to cloud his judgment. And I want to stress that our organization is committed to our ongoing investments in making our content better.
And then Linus himself cameos and basically apologizes and says that him writing the forum post was an emotionally charged, dumb decision.
I was the one at the head of the company for each and every mistake that our community has rightly brought to our attention. And once again, I made things worse by allowing myself to respond emotionally. It's honestly really hard when people take an internal process error, and then they run that all the way to Linus is a thief and wants to auction someone else's intellectual property to the highest bidder, or accuses me of trying to brush something under the rug just because I do think it's important to get all the details before declaring me to be a low-down liar, straight-up piece of shit. The second that I was made aware of the situation, on the 14th, I emailed Billet Labs and I explained what happened. I even included Colton's attempt at apologizing and offering, no questions asked, full compensation for their stated value of the product.
So basically this is him talking once again about that expensive PC that he ended up auctioning off. And he's basically saying like, look, man, it was an honest mistake. And I ended up just sending the money that they had claimed that it might have cost. Thing is, it wasn't, from what I understand, an actual cost that they sent them, as in like, pay us this. They just gave him an estimate and he sent it. When this video was initially released, it actually included the cost of this part, which Linus didn't get clearance to reveal. So ironically, in their response, they did make a bit of an error, which they did try to correct by censoring it in the video afterward. They also mentioned they'll be pausing their YouTube uploads for a while to create better systems for quality control.
I'm going to spend my week working with the other teams to develop a system of processes that will help our company fulfill my vision of being a world-class tech media organization. I'm also going to be spending my week just refocusing, guys, on what matters most, which is bringing you guys the best damn content that we can make.
Though with that being said, this brings us to a set of much more unfortunate allegations levied toward Linus and his company. These were brought forward by a woman named Madison after Gamer Nexus's video came out. She used to be the head of social media at Linus's company, and effectively, she paints a very negative picture of working there. To stop the speculation and DMs I am receiving, I chose to quit my role at LinusTechTips because it and the work environment I was facing were ruining my mental health. She claims her time was rife with harassment, both sexual and managerial. I was consistently belittled by certain members of upper management. My work was called dog shit and I was called incompetent. When I would reach out to managers and try to get help with these situations, I would be told to put on my big girl pants and be more assertive. It did not matter if I spoke to someone with evidence of an abuse of power or inappropriate workplace behavior, it was considered tattle-tailing. I was actually called a tattletale. I was told I was bossy when I wasn't trying to be assertive, like they asked me to. I was told I was arguing when I was trying to discuss my point of view. I was told to calm my tits and stop being such a bitch, and other comments to similar effects. I was asked about my sexual history, my boyfriend's sexual history, how I like to fuck. I was told that certain issues were sexual tension and I should just take the coworker out on a coffee date to ease it out. I was asked to twerk for a coworker at one point. I was told I was chunky, fat, ugly, stupid. Damn. And at any point I would bring up these comments, I would get told, oh, well, we'll have a chat with them. Nothing ever came of it. I would not have recommended anyone I knew to work there, especially with my experiences as a woman in the office, which is effectively what this kind of comes down to, is that it was very much harassment based on her being a woman. After enough complaints from me, I was pulled into a meeting. In that meeting, the writer's room was pointed to and I was asked, do you think any of these people would have a hard time getting a job? I said no. Keep in mind, this was about a month into working there. I was then pointed to and asked, what about you? I was scared. I remember asking, are you going to fire me? I was laughed at and told to stop being so pessimistic, as if my job and ability hadn't just been vaguely threatened. I was then asked to agree to a verbal, no drama contract. The verbal part is important. In this moment, I realized I was no longer considered part of the team. I was now a threat because I was putting up a fuss when I believed I was being treated unfairly and inappropriately. This verbal agreement wasn't right. It was a behind-the-scenes warning with no record. A warning that came very shortly after I had come forward, stating I had been inappropriately grabbed multiple times at the office, amongst other issues. That the terms on which she was employed were misleading. After it was publicly announced by Linus that he was hiring me, without my knowledge or consent to that situation, and also before I was even offered the job or shown the salary. Which she poses as being kind of coercive and preemptive, because now there's expectation. I agreed inside the employment contract. So Linus announced that she was hired before she agreed to be hired. That's interesting. And that agreements that were made prior to her moving to Vancouver to work there were no longer the case once she got there. I had asked and been told during my interviews that I would be allowed to monetize my YouTube channel and be allowed to join Floatplane in exchange for shutting down my Patreon. Once I moved, I was presented with an entirely new contract/handbook that I was not told existed, leaving her with pretty much no recourse because she had already moved. It detailed that I was given incorrect information and would actually have to make changes to my plans if I wanted to continue being an employee at LTT. This was after I had already moved entire countries and given up my visa status. I couldn't go back. I later went to Linus about this and stated that the effort to remediate the situation wasn't sitting right with me. He told me perhaps I should change my priorities. He was in this instance referring to the fact that my brother had suddenly passed away not even a week before I moved for this job, and that perhaps I should just ignore that I had been misled because that was more important. I cannot tell you how upset I felt in this moment. It did not matter if I spoke to someone with evidence of an abuse of power or inappropriate workplace behavior. It was considered tattle-tailing. I was actually called a tattletale. I was told I was bossy when I wasn't trying to be trying to be assertive, like they asked me to. I was told I was arguing when I was trying to discuss my point of view. I was told to calm my tits and stop being such a bitch, and other comments to similar effects. That the company was trying to undermine her own social media presence because she was like an established streamer at the time, because she thinks they were wary of her potentially voicing concerns and didn't want her to have a big audience to do that with. I was barred from being in videos, so when you ask what happened, why wasn't she in more content? This is why. There is this perplexing fear that people will leave LTT and start their own thing if given a platform. So if that platform could threaten negative things coming out about your company or you probably want to squash it too. Now I will say on this front, I did see that people posted, they showed that basically Linus, one of the former employees of LinusTechTips or associates, started his own company or channel, and LinusTechTips official channel said, well, there's officially 2 Brandon Lees in the tech tube space. And no offense to Brandon Lee, but I think Brandon Lee is going to crush him. Great video and looking forward to seeing more. I'm not so sure. This might be her speculating that they don't want her to start her own company. I don't know why else they would have wanted her to not be in videos, but yeah, just for your own, I guess, awareness. And she describes having a very heavy workload that resulted in constant crunch. The number of daily items the social media role at the time was expected to fill was extremely high. I was expected to post 3 tweets, 2 Instagram posts, and 2 TikToks minimum per day. I was also expected to plan, film, edit, and post 2 float plane exclusives per week. This included wrangling people to be in them when they were also struggling to get their own work done. I was also expected to manage, plan, come up with, execute, get approval for, and schedule all the sponsored content on socials, not including YouTube. All while being told not to complain because my job was the fun job. I remember getting told off for taking my sick days, as in the days you're entitled to. This no days off grind set culminated in the real moment I realized I had to leave. I purposely cut my leg open so badly I would have to go to the ER to get it stapled back together. What in the fuck? That seems insane. Can be conducive certainly to how brutally this workplace environment fucked with her head. Or potentially how like she was literally that burnt out and felt like her job stability was in line and whatever. But at the same time, don't fucking do that. That's really stupid. Look, if you're an employee at a company that's grinding you to the fucking dust and bone, and I understand that people need to work to fucking survive, so it's not exactly, the most simple scenario here, but look, if they literally won't give you your sick days, lie, tell them you're fucking sick and you could infect their employees. It was genuinely the only way in my mind to take a day off without being harassed for a reason why. I had spoken to managers about how I was struggling and how the workload was too much for one person, but I was belittled and told you just have bad time management skills. I cannot speak on what it's like now, but they have an entire team working on seemingly what I was expected to accomplish alone at the time. If you're bad at lying, just tell them you're taking your sick day anyway. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. You shouldn't even have to lie. But like I understand if it's a job security thing, you know what I mean? And you need it to be believable, or like you need to like pretend like it's a big deal. Yeah, I can understand just lying, but like at the end of the day, just take your fucking sick day, like, or don't, I guess, but don't cut your leg open. That's not gonna help anybody. She made a thread of over 60 tweets chronicling her time at Linus's company. So if you want to read the full context, because there's a lot, there will be a link in the description. She does make a point of mentioning that Linus would have been aware of this environment that was being fostered around her. Not claiming he was participating in it, but more so that he was complacent about its existence. When she quit the company, she left a review on Glassdoor that was very negative, and Linus seemingly responding to that negative review posted this in response to people speculating something wrong had happened to me. And if you read it, it pretty much says, hee hee, no one has come out against us, therefore we have done no wrong. For obvious reasons, there won't be an official statement disclosing private details about my dealings. If I'm ever accused of a crime or other misdemeanor, including any violation of employment law, I'm sure you'll be able to read all about it on Dexerto. For now, it appears that we are in the clear. Basically said there's no legal threat being made toward the company, so they should be fine. When I read this, I was fuming with upset, because what a dick thing to post when you were at least partially aware of the treatment your employee was getting from your higher-ups. Also, why didn't you take legal action? I had just quit my job, was scared shitless of this company, felt like I was worthless, and personally, I don't have millions of dollars to throw at legal fees. Now, at the time that she was working at the company, the HR department was headed by Linus's wife, who was also upper management, meaning that their HR department was upper management. Basically, obviously, that means that they're going to be prioritizing the interests of the company way more than the employees when dealing with these situations, or at least that's more likely to be the case. Another ex-LinusTechTips employee semi-corroborated her story, not really explicitly, but basically just saying like he remembers rough grumblings of this stuff happening at the time. I can say that I talked to Madison often about the hardships she faced while employed at Linus Media Group. I'm not her, so what she has to say is just hearsay, but because I don't have a personal first-person account of much of anything in that post. But that said, the story as she told it in this post today is as I remember it back then. Just know that that video that was put out publicly by LinusTechTips didn't address that scenario. They did tweet about it though, so this is what they said. We are taking Madison's allegations seriously. We are conducting an internal assessment alongside bringing in a third-party investigator to look into the allegations. We are committed to publishing the findings and implementing any corrective actions that may arise due to this. Thank you for your patience, and please allow us the time necessary to be as thorough as possible in this investigation. Whereas Linus's response was to basically say that he was shocked to hear about these allegations, which, to be fair, is probably just the reaction you would expect from him. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck's he gonna do? Be like, yeah, I knew, dude, I knew that was happening. No, of course, like, even if he did know, like, he's gonna say that he was, he's shocked to hear about it. Another thing to note is that a leaked audio recording has been released and confirmed by the new CEO of Linus's company to be real, which is from an HR meeting a day after Madison quit.
To have a quick chat about the best way to handle HR-related feedback and rumors.
I'll leave the full recording linked if you want to hear it, but things to note are that Linus encourages his employees to be aware that when it comes to rumors, where only one side is legally allowed to talk about it, that they should avoid passing judgment too quickly.
Always wait to hear both sides of a story before passing your own judgment. Be cautious when you know that one side is bound by legal and ethical disclosure guidelines when the other is not.
And he seemingly digs at the character of Madison on the basis that the people she was complaining about couldn't voice their opinion.
Carefully consider what it says about the character of someone who would engage in that type of gossip against someone who has no power to defend themselves.
Although, of course, he doesn't mention her by name. He also makes the pipeline for disclosing complaints very evident, saying,
The first response is, have you spoken with this person? Followed closely by, you need to speak with this person.
Which, when it comes to sexual harassment, obviously encouraging the person to deal with it with the person doing that is not very wise, assuming they did that, as Madison claims.
If for any reason that individual is not comfortable approaching the person they're having a conflict with, you advise them to take the problem to their manager, followed by me or Yvonne, followed by our third-party HR firm.
And after spelling out this pipeline, he also mentions that there's an option to anonymously submit complaints.
Or, if you would prefer to provide your feedback anonymously, we have an option for that as well. It's the manager and coworker feedback form. Yvonne, if you're not aware of it, show of hands who is not aware of it. Okay, a lot of people aren't aware of it. Good. So now we all know
So obviously we can't see how many employees didn't raise their hand, but that could be seen as reflective of their HR department not really being up to snuff at the time that Madison was working. These recordings also brought further doubt as to whether Linus was actually shocked when he heard these came out, with Madison herself saying she was baffled that he would talk about the shock, with her saying, you're probably shocked because you know evidence for most of these issues is scarce, so why would anyone risk their image to speak out? Which brings me back to the company's original statement on their plans going forward. In addition to our existing report systems, both anonymous and otherwise, we proactively reached out internally today to encourage our team members to report any workplace bullying or harassment they might be experiencing so we can take quick and decisive action. These allegations do not align with our company's ethics, you get the point. Basically, they're saying this is absolutely awful, we are looking into it, we're getting an HR department as well as a third party to investigate. Which, I'll be real, is probably the best way to go about that scenario, you know what I mean? Like, they, again, are a massive company at this point, and so to try their best to ensure that going forward everything's fine, yeah, it makes sense. So we'll see what comes of that. People have been speculating and stuff online because obviously some of the employees who worked with Madison, you know, there's old videos where they're like together and some people make like, you know, comments that are questionable. But yeah, I just don't want to really speculate on any of that because, you know what I mean? It's like, the fuck, I just don't know. So that's why I'm also not going to be like looking at the potential allegations made to other, you know, coworkers that she had. I feel like looking into it too deeply is unwise, especially when the company has already publicly said we're going to hire an independent, you know, audit and effectively see what the fuck went down here, you know? So actions being taken effectively. And that's pretty much everything that's public right now. I'm now going to play a part earlier in the stream that I just thought was funny to add a bit of levity and that wasn't really worth including earlier in this video. But yeah, assuming you're still watching, thank you for watching, and yeah, give your mother a hug. And Luke again just kind of like says, I try to not fucking let Linus light fires. Like, that's part of my job. This brings me to a funny memory I have where Linus, like, this is my context for Luke. Here we go. Linus drops a hard R.
I mean, it's been kind of eye-opening. I've just sort of randomly here and there picked up episodes of, you know, old shows that I hadn't watched in a long time from like the early 2000s, and just the casual the casual sort of gay humor, casual use of the hard R.
Oh, really?
It's jarring. Yeah, it's jarring now. And
casual use of hard R.
Yeah, absolutely. Like okay, it was an episode of American Dad. And it was just like, yeah, it wasn't for shock value.
This guy's literally like, this is the image I have stained in my brain of this man, of him just being like, Linus, what the fuck are you saying? I might not have a job after this.
It's just like used.
Whoa.
Right? Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? That was in 2003 or something, like 2002.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna deny that I dropped my fair share of hard R's back then, because we didn't even, the term hard R didn't even exist.
Fucking hell.
Think about it, right?
Oh my
God. It's funny because to me, that doesn't feel like that long ago, but to my kids.
Are you talking like N-word hard R?
What? No.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's how people use that term.
No.
I think
this guy's fucking balls just went in his stomach, man.
So the N-word. What are you guys talking about? Am I mistaken?
I think so.
No, the one with the like for like mental disability.
I'm pretty sure people use hard R in a very different way than you just used it.
Oh. Okay,
yeah.
Hard R means ending
I understand.
the N-word
I
with
understand.
a hard R.
I understand.
Right, so yeah, just to paint the picture of like this Luke guy, you know, he kind of is the caretaker in a sense. Good night. Mwah. Have a good week. You better. I'll come for you.
Join the fucking Discord.
Đây là 21 con